Hello, everyone. So here's Moonlight Soul and Adrian Gibson from Just Caring Astrology, and we're getting together to talk about upcoming new moon in Gemini. Hello, Adrian. Nice to see you
Hel-
again.
Hello, Mila. I'm traveling, so I'm not at home in my usual space. And it sounds a little echoey here in the hallway, but
We do
here
our
I am.
best. It's not about
We'll do our
perfection.
best.
And it's the same for me. I'm traveling with a lot of hustle and bustle around me, so we just do what we can.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
there
yeah.
seems to be a lot of movements in a good Gemini fashion.
Well, yes. And also, it began for me with the full moon in Sag. So travel, new perspective is, and this is the, next step of that is taking in that information that we are gathering from these new places. Just, it's a new perspective, a shift in reality. So I was writing a couple weeks ago that you don't really have to travel. It's just something will open up in our consciousness and give us the ability to start gathering that new information in, to fit it into this new perspective that we're gaining. So this is where we find ourselves in the new moon, just gathering all kinds of new information and gaining perspective for ourselves.
Absolutely. And I feel, a lot of that is to do, of course, with now Jupiter being in Gemini and this Uranus Mercury conjunction in Taurus, and then this Jupiter Mercury conjunction in Gemini. So there is definitely a lot of new ways of seeing things and making a new choices because of this new angle that we're looking at and looking through.
Yes, yes. So shall I bring up the chart?
Yeah, sure. Whenever you're ready.
All right. And there we are. And this is from Tennessee, so I'm not even in Tennessee, but the alignment was right.
Yeah. And for me, anyway, for me, either way, it's going to be in the afternoon. Actually, the time of this new moon, I'll be moved again because I'm currently in the UK. I'll be in Slovakia, and by the end of the week, I'll be in Bulgaria. So definitely a lot of Gemini.
Definitely moving around, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Well,
So where
that's
do we
cool.
start?
Well, we have still planets in Aries. Those will be hanging out there for a little bit longer. Mars will be on its way out soon. But we have the backdrop of Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, where we're, retrieving some more information about how to break free from our conditioning. So that's the bottom line. We're all working on breaking free and finding our true inner essence. And all the alignments really for the next 20 years will be helping us to do that. So um, yeah, we have this, both Saturn and Neptune still in Pisces. And, Neptune is gonna go all the way up to the edge, and then it's gonna turn around and go the other way.
Hmm.
So there'll be more information that we are retrieving, accelerating this letting go of what we've known and of what has been. And then that whole stellium in Aries is telling us about where we're going in the future. And really how to get there. It's about just showing up and discovering who we are. Because when we let go of the conditioning, who are we without the conditioning? And so that's what this stellium is about really learning. And so it's about trying new things, being guided from within, and just, all the new things that we try, we'll have to see, is this for us or is this not for us? What, do I like this? Oh, if I like this, maybe I'll head in this direction. But it's definitely a time of trial and error, all in the energy of allowing us to discover who we are.
Absolutely. And this is so interesting because literally, I just had a session with a client, and this was literally what we were talking about, you know, like I feel in a sense that entire human collective is going through midlife crisis, you know, and people are having Uranus, like Pluto square, Neptune square, Uranus opposition. I think we're all going through this like collectively right now, because it is like the stripping us of the layers of the past conditioning and past identities until we are my friend, my good friend, she uses the term pick to the bone, you know, literally, like
Wow.
there's nothing else, and then we just have to like recreate ourselves. It's this full like accelerated process of metamorphosis, of this fast shedding of the old conditioning, because yeah, like you said, Neptune is going to hang out in Pisces for on and off 2 more years, because both Saturn, Neptune, and well, actually all three of them, Uranus also, are going to change sign briefly next year, 2025. But then all three of them are going to retrograde to where they are now, and then they're going to move fully in 2026. So I feel that this period of time, especially with the nodes moving to Pisces, Virgo, which is all about learning, adjusting, and letting go, and healing and integrating, this is the preparation for the 2026, which is going to be crazy fast show with all the big players in you know, like air and fire masculine signs. And with this Gemini new moon, I feel it plays very profound role in getting us started.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting as this old stuff begins to dissolve away, what is left behind. I love that phrase, picking the bones clean. That's perfect. That's really what it seems like. And I think this is the energy, the uncomfortability, part of the uncomfortability that Chiron gives us, because
Yeah.
there's a wound associated with that. And so it's very, yeah, it gives us this energy of, almost like we don't want to touch the wound, but we're being driven to do it anyway. So I think that that's really very an interesting thing. It's like we're being pushed forward to try these new things, but at the same time, there's this part of us that doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
But yet, Uranus is in Taurus to break us off of that holding space. You can't sit here. I was noticing that here in Seattle, what they have on a lot of their electronic equipment that's outdoor are these little spikes so that the birds can't land here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's
And
what that reminds me of.
it is true. And like, I mean, even from what we were sharing between us, our personal experiences, a lot of doors and the old options are becoming unavailable. It's like universe is saying, no, you cannot go that way anymore. And it will continue being so because of still Neptune staying in Pisces and Saturn. And it's just going to bring more and more things that now became obsolete. Like it's just totality of that cycle is now ending. We are experiencing the culmination of that which came before, and with all this Aries energy, especially now Mars being in new phase with both North Node and Chiron. We have no choice. And with that Chiron, it really is about all these wounds and insecurities of the past that are coming up from the surface, because this is all part of the collective healing of that which came from the other, and we were part of the other, that now needs to be balanced. It needs to be healed. So that's why like we can no longer escape these old wounds. And it's also, I feel, about actually allowing this wound to make us feel stronger rather than like weaker, or like like many people say, oh, I'm broken because this happened to me. But actually this is what I feel needs to change. Like we need to allow this wound to actually become our strength, not our weakness, so we are no longer afraid of it.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, we'll build from that point, build our new selves from that point of where the wounding is so that we can move beyond it. I was thinking about the conjunction that we had with Jupiter and Uranus, and how it just kind of fractured what we all believe. And that about the way that we've had stability, because they conjuncted in Taurus, and now Jupiter has moved into Gemini, where we are now having a whole different perspective, but it's, it's brand new. We're just getting into that. And so, with the conjunction of Mercury and Jupiter, there's this beginning energy of being able to align what we understand and what we see with this new belief structure that's coming in. And it's all not very clear yet because it's in the very beginning. And Jupiter is going to be in Gemini for a whole year. So it'll be a long time that our minds will begin to gather this information, and we'll start talking about it. It'll become more salient for each of us, but our minds are sharp right now with this stellium in Gemini. It's this sharpening of, what it is that we perceive so that we can begin to make sense of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, as we can see, Venus, the moon, and the sun, they are all in the same degree. Venus just made a conjunction to Sun 2 days prior, same time as Mercury, Jupiter conjunct. So everybody is in a new phase. Venus is the ruler of the South Node, the one we're resolving, and they are still within that degree of the trine. They all had a trine that's actually coming up now as we're recording this. There is the trine, and the South Node is being trined by this new moon, which is just telling us that actually opening ourselves up to these other choices, other options, other ways of new ways of seeing things and identifying things, and also understanding that it doesn't have to be the same for everyone, because this is again something that we're breaking free from, the trine to Pluto, that it doesn't mean that we all have to see things the same way, but it doesn't make it right or wrong. There is no polarity, that has to be removed in a sense, this because like Gemini and Mercury is like neutral. It's neutral, so it's not like as polarized as some of the, from the traditional perspective, from evolutionary perspective, nothing is really polarized. Everything serves a purpose of evolution. But I feel that this trine, at the same time trying to, like Jupiter and Mercury still are within degree trine. The moon is kind of white orb, but because they are all in a stellium, they are all being trined by Pluto, and at the same time trine in the South Node. So opening ourselves up to this is actually supporting us in resolving this South Node, this that we all have to be the same, or we all have to think the same, and also is about this process of individuation that we are stepping onto with this Aquarian age.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then with the Gemini function, there's so much knowledge and so much information. People aren't going to carry it all. Each one of us has a different perspective. Each one of us stands in a different place in the Earth space continuum. And so we all have a different perspective. And this is the multiplicity of the Gemini archetype. But I feel like you said, this trine to Pluto is allowing us to really hold on to, and I think that this is part of the expansion of our reality, is that we are beginning to integrate our own perspective into our individuation process, which is at the same time with the South Node in Libra being trine to all of the stellium in Gemini, is that with this, it's changing the way we relate to the outer world, because we're literally coming from our own perspective instead of a perspective that's been given to us. And I think this is also, helping us to integrate this, our true selves, our North Node.
And this is the sextiles, I feel, because the North Node is sextiling the moon, and also the sextile that happened between is not happening between Mercury and it's within the degree, but it's going to happen between Jupiter and North Node, and the trine to South Node, and also Mercury sextile to North Node and trine to South Node. And this is all the first sextile, which is the Taurus flavor, and also with the Neptune and Jupiter is also the Taurus sextile. So this is where I feel that like we've been talking about with the Taurus new moon and all that people need to ground in who are you, what what is important to you, like how strong is your foundation, your roots, and and then we can branch out and feel free to go and explore and all that, because Taurus is only the second sign of the zodiac, so it's foundational. It's foundational to know yourself, to know thyself, and then you can go and expand. So I feel that with this Gemini being, like making this first sextile between these things in Gemini and the North Node since the conjunction, which for majority of them happen in April, this is supporting us on this path of going forward. So yeah, you can make all these different choices and go in whichever direction you want and create whatever story you want to experience, but you need to trust yourself that you can. So this is where I feel the hidden Taurus flavor is underlying in everything.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting, this, everything being in Gemini, this need to ground first. We really had to ground first. That's bringing all of the energy toward the center of ourselves so that our minds can actually shoot outward. We're anchored in so that we can begin this process of collecting new information about our reality. And it's interesting because I feel like the Venus in Gemini is really just allowing us to feel and to relate to ourselves very differently. We're taking in new information, but we're learning about who we are. Who, with all of that grounding energy that we had, now we're learning about what that really means. And this is this pushing edge, is that we are beginning to come into a place where we're having a perspective about our self-worth, who we are and how valuable we are. And this is this information. I think that this is the information that's coming in through this Jupiter-Mercury conjunction. It's like, okay, we are breaking free of the old way. We're beginning to look at who we are. The stellium in Aries and the stellium in Gemini, they're supporting each other. We're looking at who we are. And in that process, we are gaining this sense of esteem, like, oh, we have individual importance, and we're learning and being able to label what that is during these times, which, it's anchoring in these two trines from Pluto and the South Node. This is the direction that we're moving.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the South Node that we are evolving, because until this time of, our remembered history that we were being told that we should remember, we were always being told by someone else what to do, what to believe, what is your value, based on your identity, which you were born into. This is your purpose. And that's why I feel it's also interesting that Venus has conjuncted just conjuncted Sun in Gemini, where last time they conjunct in Leo, whilst Venus was retrograde. She was retrograde, so she was making us to reevaluate, is this my authentic expression? Is this really who I am? Because at the time, Venus was already the rule of the South Node in Libra. Or is it something that was being projected onto me? And in order to survive, in order to fit in and belong, because that was necessary, hundreds of years ago, if you didn't fit in, sorry, you didn't survive, because that was the time and age, and it was the consciousness that the soul wanted to be interacting with at the time. But now with Pluto being in Aquarius and everything stepping into Gemini, trining Pluto, and Pluto being retrograde, is making us to make a different choice, to look at things from a different perspective, to see a vaster landscape. Because I also feel with this, Gemini in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini, it's going to really expand us to understanding that we are so much more than we think we are. Like everything that ever happened, anything that ever took place is available and accessible to everyone, because we are part of the same collective consciousness. So everything is changing.
Yes, absolutely. This is what I think this expansion is about as well. We're to discover that we are more than what we thought we were. And we have to learn what that is. And hence the stellium, the beginning of this new moon, is that energy to really discover who we are and to take that in. And it's going to be different for each one of us. We're all different. And so, and that's going to help us to let go of the past of always aligning ourselves with people outside of ourselves and situations outside of ourselves, really helping us to integrate what we carry on the inside. And I think ultimately that's what, I mean, that's what's happening.
Exactly. And, you know, what just popped into my head is that sameness doesn't mean oneness. So where we're trying to go to, and this is the thing that many people are confused about, because, oh, if I'm going to individuate, then I'm going to feel more separate. But actually, that is not the truth, because we are all connected anyway, whether we are aware of that or not. But actually, when we understand our unique soul signature, our unique expression of the source, because why the hell would source need to have 8 billion souls on a planet to be exactly the same, right? It makes no sense for an expansion and evolution from that perspective. So when we actually understand that, well, I came here with my purpose. Yes, it's everything is happening simultaneously. I'm working on my own soul stuff. I'm working on my ancestor lineage. I'm working on a collective consciousness. We, you know, it's multiple things that the soul is operating on, resolving at the same time, and working on and expanding and evolving and all the rest of it. But when we have that understanding, but this is my purpose, this is my unique expression, it's actually much easier to understand that, yeah, we are part of the one. But sameness
Yes.
doesn't mean oneness, you know. So
No, it
previously we
doesn't.
were being told that we all have to believe the same, behave the same, dress the same, look the same, because this is what makes us one. But actually that's not the truth, because we didn't come here to be the same. We came here to be unique and part of the source. So it all
Yes.
sounds a little bit like a conflict, like an oxymoron, but this is how I understand it. And I feel like with this Gemini trying to Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius, everything in Gemini, this is exactly what it's about. This is how universe wants to, or source or God, or however, whatever label you want to use, this is how it wants to evolve from now on, through this unique expression and understanding that. And this is what is actually the unique individual expression and embodiment of that is actually what allows for this expansion and evolution to take place from this different way, different ways.
Yes, because we're all a piece of that oneness, but separated out so that we all have our individual parts. It's one, I mean, you're right, it is an oxymoron. It's oneness, but we're each unique within that oneness. And
Exactly.
we're each going to express. And then what ends up happening through the Aquarius archetype is that as we begin to learn to vibrate our individual frequency that we start attracting people that have similar vibrations, not the same, because there'll be nobody that's the same, but we'll have similar vibrations. And as we begin to group with that, we'll make a stronger voice to be moving the collective forward. And there'll be lots of such groups because, you know, the oneness is large.
Yeah,
And
and the human system of sameness is being decentralized.
exactly. I love that, and it's about uniqueness.
Exactly. And I also feel that this is, you know, with this Gemini quality and energy that we're tapping into now, it's about that, you know, that creation of these different timelines, you know, like choosing your different timelines. So all these different groups of souls that now are going to come together, you know, to create this vibration and frequency of creating something new, something that goes beyond something that was previously not explored or didn't look exactly the same way. It's going to also create a particular timeline. So this is how I understand it, you know, in this going forward, that people will be less and less aware of the timelines that are not a frequential match. So at the moment, we all aware of, oh yeah, that's going on, this thing in the world, that thing in the world and stuff. But where we become more focused on our soul signature, soul song, and soul tribe, and what we came here with to do individually, you know, as a purpose, you know, like I feel we will be less interacting with the things that technically are not part of it, that has nothing to do with that and are in a different frequency, no right or wrong, just different. So
Yeah.
there will be more focused use of the human incarnation and embodiment. It will be more focused and less scattered, and actually more I don't know how to explain it in words, but you know, it will be like the evolution is going ahead, and it's no more time to waste on going, you know, in roundabouts.
No, and I think that that's why it feels like everything is moving so quickly, because there isn't really any time to waste. And yeah, I mean, to me, in this energy, it's like we just have to follow what it is within us and know that everything is okay. Everything is perfect. So and it's our, you know, human brains that are attached to the way things were that make things uncomfortable. But if we can learn to let go of that, and I think that that's a lot of what this Saturn and Neptune and Pisces is about, is really helping us to let go of the way it was. As things begin to dissolve, it makes it easier for us to come into ourselves. You know, it's like if you are in a place where you can see where the rooms are and where the road is, and then you have a direction to go. And this is how we're used to doing. But if all of that dissolves, and you can imagine you're just in a fog of not knowing which way to go, the only way to find that out is to turn inward. Inward, there's a direction to follow. It's like an inner world. And that's where we are learning to work from now. And then this outer world will come back, but we'll have the balance from inside ourselves to self-guide. So we're in this place where things are sort of slipping away. It becomes very nebulous.
Exactly.
But then in that place, we're going to be anchoring into ourselves and finding those things through this Aries dynamic. And, you know, later we'll be moving into the Pisces Virgo dynamic. We'll be, you know, discerning it further and aligning further. But I mean, I'm not sure. I don't even know when the Neptune will move into Aries. I think 2026. Is that when it happens?
Neptune is first time moving into Aries next year, just before the eclipse. I think it's the eclipse in Aries. I believe it's end of March.
In the spring?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the exact date with me here. Actually, I might. Let me check. I actually might have the date. Let me see. Neptune, it's 30th or 31st of March 2025, depending where you are in the world, and that's going to be right after the solar eclipse in Aries, the last one. It will be on March 29th. So Neptune will be on 29 degrees and 59 minutes during the last Aries new moon solar eclipse of 2025. But then it's going to Saturn also is going to move back into Pisces the same year, and then move again. So this is where I feel, because also Neptune is going to conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So this is where I feel that like we are going through a period of time where slowly, and this is what I said to you with regards to what I'm experiencing in my personal life, the universe is removing the training wheels. It's removing the training wheels in the real time. It's really making it impossible for us to continue in the same patterns. If those patterns are dysfunctional and no longer supporting the evolution, it's shutting all the doors in our face, making the walls where before there was a path, and it's forcing us to find a different way. And I feel this process of more and more doors shutting in our face and more passages being blocked and having to find a new one, this is going to continue throughout next year as well. But at the same time, there is already this new that is being offered. So that's why I feel with this Gemini new moon plays such an important role, because people might say, well, what's different? Mercury conjuncted Jupiter and Uranus last year too. What's changed this year is Mercury, Mars, and Venus all conjuncted Pluto in Aquarius for the first time. This is what completely changed the energy, because before then everybody was conjuncting Pluto in Capricorn. The only difference now is is the sun still conjuncted Pluto in Capricorn this year, which is going to change as of next year. But this is it. This year, that's it, you know, and we can see all these closing phases, new phases, as you and I were talking about, that nothing is just all in new phase or nothing is just closing. Everything is happening simultaneously. And I feel we will feel this especially next year. So this is the year where we all kind of presented with new choices or the opportunity to see new choices, while we feel like I have more of a free will, because then I feel the universe is going to get more interference, and it's gonna kind of not remove our free will because we agree to that prior to incarnation, but we will feel like, why is this happening to me? Why these things are feeling like they're not in my hands anymore? But I think it's all to do with the Pisces Virgo, you know, the spirit being in charge, because it's ushering us, you know, like a caring parents, to usher us that you need to spread your wings and fly now. It's time. It's Aquarian age. And this is what I feel that we are being prepared for. Next year will be more of the adjustments with the Virgo North. Is it Virgo North Node? Right? Virgo North Node, yes. And oh no, Virgo South Node. No, it's the Pisces.
Oh, South Node will go into Virgo, North Node into Pisces. Yes.
Exactly, and that's the thing. North Node in Pisces. Mars was in Pisces throughout the entire Aries season, while we had the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, the first one on a North Node in a new phase conjunction. So there's no coincidence. So a lot of things are going to be guided and ushered in certain direction by the spirit, and our higher self. And then 2026 is the kickoff.
Cool. Wow. While you were describing that, I was just picturing like almost like a labyrinth or a long hallway that has lots of doors, and you go to hit a doorknob and it's locked, and you go to the next one and it's locked, and like until you get one that's open, and then you have to go in. It's like the universe ushering us through closing the doors as to the direction that we're supposed to head.
Yeah, and that's what I feel, because it's all this energy of ready or not, evolution is going ahead.
Oh, it's happening. Yeah, it doesn't ever stop, but it's just it's an interesting time to be able to just be open and allow. It really takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of trust that everything is happening for us, one, instead of to us. And if the doors close or something shocking is happening, just to understand that it's happening so that we could grow into the next phase. So yeah, and that's hard to take sometimes because we are attached to the way things are and the way things have been. But this is how we grow, by the universe changing up the patterns. And it allows us to grow into a different perspective. And I think that that's a lot of what the energy is now. There's, you know, I'm not sure how people have been experiencing the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction or this whole new energy, but I can't think of for myself anything shocking, particularly shocking that happened. Definitely decentralizing. I mean, my world is definitely changing, and I'm moving from, you know, one career to another. And so I'm experiencing it. It's not so shocking, I think, because I mean, I guess I chose it. I mean, maybe.
Oh, for sure. And it's also, I feel like, and this is something that I always stand behind, that when people, well, first of all, if people understand like the meaning of all of that, and also it's again this Taurus, you know, when we have the self-trust and we are grounded in ourselves, in our body, and also understanding the Pisces, that everything that always ever happened had a meaning and purpose, even though at the time it didn't make any sense. Maybe even what's going on now in the world makes no sense, but eventually we will understand, because we are in the middle of it, so we cannot see the whole picture, because, you know, all the pieces of the puzzles hasn't quite, you know, been found yet. But with this Gemini, it's also, and I feel with, you know, like this Uranus conjuncting Jupiter, and also now Jupiter conjuncting Mercury in Gemini and the influence of Mercury being the ruler of Jupiter in Gemini. This is all about like, okay, if we understand all this and if he actually can trust it, then suddenly there are so many other options that we could be playing with, you know, having this complete, because this is something that's been coming up for me, that this complete trust and surrender, which is not easy because of the ego. The ego wants to know, it wants to control, and how can I trust if I don't know and stuff. But every time, and this is something that I always ask so many people when we had these very difficult, challenging times happening in our life, whatever they were, and we wish we didn't have to go through that, right? But always, you know, 10, 20, whatever years later, we look back and we go, oh, you know what, that was probably the best thing that happened, because it completely changed my life, you know, even though no, I wouldn't want to go through that experience again or whatever. So this is what I feel, that when people actually understand that whatever is going on right now and whatever door is shut in your face, my face, or whoever's face, it is supporting the expansion that we sign up for, because nobody is here by force, because we all have a free will, and that suddenly gives us a lot of choices, because we go, okay, well, if this is not available and for whatever reason my soul chose it and it's for my eye as good, even though I don't understand it and doesn't make sense to my ego, then what else can I choose? You know, what other experience can I have? And that then gives us more of a sense of empowerment rather than feeling victimized.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that that's part of this square between the new moon and Saturn, is that we are opening, there's a lot of pressure to open up all of these new choices and to take in this new information that's coming as the old way is dissolving. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. It made me think of a couple of different instances where I thought my world was crashing. My world was crashing when my marriage ended, and I thought, oh, this is the most horrible thing. It was such a difficult wall for me to go over. And then as time moved on and I began, new doors were opening up for me. And this is when I was in my 30s and I had small children, and I was a meat eater at the time. And it's so interesting that that doorway allowed me to open up, and that's when I became a vegetarian. I could go my own way because I had my own sense. And at some point, I could turn back and look and realize there's no way that I would have been able to grow into myself in that relationship, that relationship literally had to end, even though at the time when it was ending, it was like cutting off my arm.
Mm.
So, yeah, I definitely agree with that idea that these things that are, these doors that are closing are so necessary, even though they feel difficult to go through. The experience that I've had in the past shows me that these difficult experiences actually do lead to growth.
Mm. Yeah, and that's what needed, because also, as I keep also saying to my clients, like, if you were never tested and challenged, how would you know that you can do it? How would you know you can trust yourself? And this is how we build the resiliency, you know, the Scorpio archetype. And then when we feel strong, you know, within ourselves, again, the Taurus Scorpio, you know, the two archetypes that are in opposition to one another, then yeah, you know, what else can happen? What else can I, you know, because this is how the souls looks at it. It doesn't go like, oh my god, this is such a hard life. You know, the soul goes like, ooh, you know, all these exciting opportunities and loops to jump through so I can grow, you know.
Yes.
But from the human point of view, it looks very differently. And with this Gemini, it's like this continuous polarity and duality that we play in with at the same time, and is that opening up to multidimensionality and understanding that, well, everything is true, all of it is happening. Yeah, like I am having this human experience. I mean, I'm in no way saying it's easy, but at the same time I need to start holding the other perspective, which is, what is the meaning? Why is this happening? You know, like, what is the potential of growth that's coming from this situation? And this is where I feel that, you know, which we are already covering in even previously in the Sagittarius full moon, we cannot keep looking at reality in the same way of this black and white. It's just this or is that, you know, that is not going to take us anywhere anymore. It's all about this Gemini, which is like, where is all of it? It's all of it.
Yes, there is all of it. And we might experience, you know, the paradox of all of it. And that's okay, because that helps us to grow as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the Libra and Aries. We have to experience the crisis sometimes from both ends to find our way back to the middle, to the equilibrium, because that's what everybody's striving for. That's what everything in universe is striving for. It's through crisis to experience the imbalance, so then we can find the back, way back to the equilibrium, to the osmosis.
Yeah, yeah. All for the purpose of growth. We're moving on.
Yeah, and it's very interesting also that the full moon in Gemini will be the last full moon of this year, and then we'll have the new moon in Capricorn to close it with, which last year it was the other way. We had the full moon in Sagittarius. No, it was the new moon in Sagittarius. New moon in Sagittarius as a mutable new moon, which was like, well, this year is going to be a ride. It's going to be choose your adventure, whatever it is. And the full moon in Cancer, because the old identities of who we thought we were, that is no more. Like, you are not the same person you were, even you personally, you're not even the same person you were at the beginning of the year, because how much has happened and how much you've grown and how many things you've experienced since. So, thinking back to, previous cycles of whatever, like, this is a completely different version of you that is, interacting with the reality now, and that's continuously changing. And now, because of these new choices and new ways of looking at reality that we are interacting with now in a real time of this new moon in Gemini on a 6/6 portal, not just any new moon, but on a 6/6 portal, the last full moon of this year that will give us the illumination of what is this all about will be the full moon in Gemini, and there is the new moon in Capricorn, which will be, okay, now we're going to create it, manifest it, because Capricorn, right? So this is very important new moon, even though normally Gemini is not being taken too seriously, but I always feel this underlying importance of Mercury, this, in this process, because it is the one that connects us with the world we're experiencing.
It's the mindset, it's the perspective that we're all coming from. And if we don't refresh that perspective, there's no growth and expansion on the other side, which is that full moon in Sag.
Yeah, so I think it is in no way easy. And I mean, even it's so interesting because I was talking to my friend about this, that, we talk about all of these things that like a theory, it's a theory, but then things happen in our own personal life, which makes it very real, all these aspects and all these transits. And I'm like, oh my God, didn't see that one coming and stuff. So we are all moving through this and we are all experiencing this in some way, shape, and form. The details might be different, but we all, riding the waves of these energies. So that is the thing, like where we might think that, oh yeah, we also separate and suffering in isolation, but actually we are all interacting with these energies in one way or another, because we are all part of the same human collective, and we are all encouraged into the same evolutionary trajectory.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it's the communication that is also shifting, because that's what I'm noticing. I'm currently, meeting with friends that we meet with online, but we're in person now, and the communication of these perspectives is what's new. I mean, literally, I'm living it in real time, so it's really quite interesting to be able to share these perspectives that we're gaining, because we're all so different. We all have a piece of it, and it's nice to be able to share, and that also helps us grow and change perspective. This energy of sharing the information.
Well, and that is the Aquarius, isn't it? We all coming
Isn't
from
it?
our own individual point of view to create the piece of puzzle that we came here to create because of our Leo, holding the unique piece of the puzzle that nobody else has exactly the same one as you.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what we're learning. We're learning to find out what our unique piece of the puzzle is. Hence, the stellium in Aries. And that's what we're doing. And the opposition point of Pluto, it's in Leo, right at the beginning. We are literally learning to find out who our true essence is while we shed the old ways. One of the ways that we're shedding the old ways is to let go of the way that we have related to the outer world, where we're always being led by what somebody else tells us. And the shift is toward the inside. Okay, well, what is my inner gut telling me? What direction do I need to go? What is it that I desire from the inside, which may be very different than somebody that I've related to in the past, my children, for example, my friends or whatever. I remember when I first decided to study astrology, my friend was like, but you just learned how to teach yoga, like, you're gonna change again? Like, yeah, because that's where the drive is. It's like, oh, something shiny over here, so I'll have that piece. It's not going anywhere. I'm still practicing my yoga, and if it comes to the opportunity that I get to share it with another person, that's cool. I can do that. But now I'm working on another piece. And so I just thought it was so funny that she said, oh, and now you're doing that. The amount of times, because I have that stellium in the first house, the amount of times that I've changed from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, it's happened for my whole life. And now we're all doing it, picking
Exactly.
something new.
But this is literally the way forward. This is why this Gemini new moon is so important. And I actually, can 100% resonate, because that's exactly what happened with me. That I was studying yoga during COVID, and then I was like, yeah, I enjoy it, but I don't think it's quite the thing for me. And again, like, it doesn't mean it isn't, or it won't be later on down the line. But this is the difference, because we were, again, by the external conditioning, being told that, well, you need to choose one thing, and you need to be one thing, and you need to become an expert, and if you're not an expert, you failed, and you're not perfect, and all the rest of it, right? But actually, this is not in alignment with the age of Aquarius, because Gemini trines Aquarius, so it's saying, no, actually, we came here to open up all the multi-dimensional assets of who we are. So even if you feel like tomorrow you want to become a chef, and the day after start playing violin, and what? These are
Yeah.
all different aspects of our soul that been here before and done it all before. And if you personally, your soul signature hasn't done, somebody else's did it, so you can tap into it. And this is what's changing, because we didn't come here to have this boxed life with one identity and one label on it and say, oh, you cannot come out of this box because this is what you sign up for this life. Not in this lifetime. Not in this lifetime. That was the previous experiences, which we all maxed out on, which is why so many people are drawn to multiple different things that might be even completely contrast to one another, and then potentially feel guilty about it because of this conditioning that says, oh, you just did this, and you not even, you didn't even become perfect at that, or whatever it is. Who cares about perfect? Like, the more the less you are controllable, and the more you are self-sufficient. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
even if you know a little bit about everything, but the more you know, right?
Yeah, and this is the conditioning that we've come from. This is how our parents did it. And so
Yeah.
then they expect us to do it the same way, but that's not how things change. We're gonna take what they gave us and we're gonna advance it forward. Um, not necessarily with them enjoying what we're doing.
Well, that's the whole point with the Leo, right? The childlike innocence, the joy and the passion. That's what needs to be reignited, because the heart, is all the same thing. It's all Leo, the purpose, the heart, the passion. The thing we enjoy doing, the hobbies, right? In a traditional astrology. Well, this is what is going to teach you about who you are, your authentic expression, and this is what, like you said, is then going to help you to attract people on the same frequency and co-create the manifestation of your purpose on here, which is not just
Yeah.
one, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, and to me, this is where the North Node is, and the Chiron. I mean, it's the healing. It's the healing energy, is to really begin to narrow the focus back to ourselves. And it's not like we're gonna leave others behind. Others are always gonna be part of, I mean, they are the mirror. Others will always be there. It's just that we will seek to balance what we desire and the journey, the direction that we want to go with the others. I mean, not everybody's going to be happy with the directions that we choose, but it's not for them. They get to choose their direction.
Exactly, exactly. And there is not one size fits all. And this is how we're going to start co-creating more conscious relationships, which are not based on codependency and, you know, like this need for survival, because this is how we used to use Taurus archetype before. But now we want to move it to the next level, which is like, you know, you don't need to sacrifice who you are just to survive, you know. And also the other aspect of Chiron is like, you know, not to be afraid to try all these different things, the things that we haven't tried before, and go in all these different new directions, even, you know, if you might feel that, oh my God, how come I'm changing my career at the age of 75 or something, and what? You know, while you're still here, you're here to grow and learn and adjust and explore and, you know, expand. So why not?
Yeah. Yeah. And if your changes in behavior and desire and whatever are causing, you know, an upsetness with other people, and you know, you make your change anyway, and new people will come to fill the void of other. It just will work that way. Because we're always going to have that mirror. It's how we navigate ourselves. But I think that mostly what this whole year and a half with the nodes in Aries and Libra is about is learning to find the balance between ourselves and other. We're learning, and we'll switch back and forth, because that's how we find the balance. It's just constant. It's like that the pendulum swinging, and eventually will come and end toward the center and stop. And once you have the balance, right?
And this is what we're learning. But we're learning it through experience in everything that is out of balance and all these crises that are happening in our individual life and collective. And then we're going to heal it. Then we're going to heal it when the nodes move to Pisces and Virgo.
I mean, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Where the pendulum is swinging. We're bringing in the sacred feminine.
Yeah. But at the same time,
one extreme to another.
Healing the disconnection between sacred feminine and sacred masculine, and also you know, balancing both aspects of those within each and every single one of us, you know, where women had to step into too much of their masculinity because of, you know, the conditioning we've been experiencing in the past, you know, many decades, and men had to suppress their femininity, their connection to the softer essence of who they are. So everything is out of whack, you know, everything, not just women, not just men, everything and everyone. So we're all trying to find a way to the center, and it will look different to different people. And that's what Gemini is saying, you know, it's like there's no right and wrong, there is no one size that will fit all. It's just like which timeline you choose to experience this through.
Yeah, and that we have to look from other perspectives. We have to expand our consciousness and look at the world from another perspective. And this is what will help us to see the direction to go so that we can find a balance for the future. Absolutely. And it takes time, you know.
Yeah, that's why we have planets moving back and forth from signs, you know, like even Pluto. I mean, it's having one more retrograde, right, in Capricorn from September. So we do have time to make all these adjustments. But the fact that things are changing and have to change, that's non-negotiable.
Yeah, I mean, it's the movement of this universe is to go back and forth. It's even down to our breath. You know, it's everything moves that way. And so
and we can also see how No, say it.
No, I was gonna say, it's just a matter of allowing that energy, you know, the pendulum will swing. And we're letting go of this old way. It's almost like we've been stuck in a very particular way of living for a very long time. And it is no longer, you know, it's the crystallization of Capricorn. While Pluto has moved through Capricorn for the past, well, even longer than that, really, since the patriarchy, we've been stuck in a very masculine focused energy. And the feminine's been suppressed. And so now, well, it's been happening pretty much since the 70s, in my opinion, since the asteroid belt was discovered and the asteroids were named and the goddesses are beginning to come in, that we're experiencing this sacred feminine flood back in, you know? But it's kind of difficult because we're so conditioned to the masculine that it's hard to allow that pendulum to swing. But I feel like these energies that we're dealing with now, this breaking free, this Pluto moving into Aquarius, is helping us to break free from those constrictions we've had in the past. Like you said, we are going to experience one more taste of it before we move forward into Aquarius for the next 20 years. And that'll be the individuation cycle.
And
You know,
Pluto is going to trine South Node at the end of the year. I don't know if it's right that just before the new moon in Capricorn and on the day or right after, but it's happening alongside with the probably it's happening right before because of the new moon energy. Pluto is going to trine the South Node in Libra, and we know that throughout last year Pluto was squaring the nodes, pointing to the South Node. So Pluto is definitely showing us where there are outdated patterns with regards to relationship and this hierarchical way of existing, whether it's just the, you know, patriarchal men are in charge, dominance, and this is again not ditching men or women or anyone, but it's like there is an imbalance, and with this Pluto in Aquarius, the two parallel lines is about things have to be equal. So whatever is out of balance, whatever is unequal, whoever is the one so-called in charge, that all will have to change. And with this Pluto trine in the South Node by the end of the year, and you know, alongside with the last lunation in Capricorn, the one number 4, because we have these 2 full moons to look forward to in June and July in Capricorn, a lot of things will change. And things will continue to change because this is what has to happen because of the alignments, because Pluto moving to Aquarius and not going back to Capricorn in our lifetime, this is a huge shift. And even though we all like talking about it, like, oh yeah, Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarian age, ooh, but we none of us knows what that's gonna look like, because this is going beyond anything we've ever experienced before. Yes, some things are coming around, just like you said, you know, the in-breath, out-breath, things are coming around, but they're never gonna look exactly the same way. So we don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
We don't know. And the only guidepost that we have is the energy that's coming from us from within. And that's what we're being taught and urged to follow with these symbols.
Absolutely.
It's what the planets are doing, so we follow.
Yeah, because with the Saturn square in this moon, and for the, you know, relationship between Saturn and the moon, is the crisis in consciousness, the closing square. So this is about pressure that is being put onto us because there is something that needs to be released in order for that cycle to change. And we know the cycle is the Neptune on 29 degrees, which is the totality. Neptune in Pisces is the totality of everything that's ever been experienced ever.
Yes. And that crisis in consciousness is where we kind of break free from the consensus and move in our own direction. So that's what we're doing. You know, North Node in Aries. New moon in Gemini, so that we can begin to gather the information of what that means for each of us. And it will be different for each of us because Gemini is the multiplicity. Gemini is all the perspectives, and we each carry a piece.
Exactly. So yeah, this is it. And because it's a new moon, again, it's we don't have much of a light, much of a clarity with regards to the what is it going to look like. It's going to look like whatever anybody chooses, because like you say, it's going to be different for different people, and it's going to represent different pathways and different ways of experiencing these energies. And then, you know, with the Gemini is the choice, you know, and it's the number 6, which is the Lover's card in Tarot, which is the Mercury card, and it's a choice. So
exactly.
Yeah. So it is all very fascinating.
I know, it's exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any final closing thoughts?
No, I think we've covered it. You know, when I was working on my moon report, I was like, wow, there's not that many alignments. There's a lot of conjunctions going on here. And so, yeah, I feel like we've talked about all of them, all the alignments.
Yeah,
And
Saturn was squaring it last year as well, and Saturn was also squaring the full moon in Gemini. So Saturn is just not letting us go. Saturn is like making us to, like, we know that Saturn from the traditional astrology, it makes you do the work, and Saturn is really doing that now.
yeah,
Like, you need to
yeah,
burn this karma already.
yeah. Well, it's all helping us to do what we need to do.
Exactly. It's the wake up call, the clarion call that, hey, you know, you came here with a purpose. It's time to start doing it.
I love that, the clarion call.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Gemini, right? Clarion call,
Right,
like, especially with the, you know, Mercury conjunct Uranus and Jupiter, of course, as well. And now new phase. It is a clarion call. That's what it is.
right.
Cool.
Wonderful. All right. I'm gonna take this chart down.
So, Adrienne, tell us, what are the news? Where can
Well,
people
my
find
website
you?
is still not up. Hopefully it'll be up in the next week when I get back to Tennessee. But until then, you can find me on my Substack account is where I post my moon reports every 2 weeks. And that's Just Karen Astrology on Substack.com. And you can find me at Just Karen Astrology on Facebook. You can also email me personally if you'd like a reading or any kind of consultation at heartplace@peoplepc.com.
Yeah, and I put all that in the description. And yeah, for me, same place as always. People can find me on my website, on social media. Everything is Moonlight Soul 369. And once again, as always, thank you, Adrienne. And thank you for finding time during your exciting astrological retreat that you're doing at the moment, or conference, and getting together with like-minded people and expanding horizons and visions. So thank you for coming for, you know, a little chat.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it. I look forward to it each
Thank
time.
you.
So it's my way of staying connected to you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you for the next one. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.